Okay, it's time to dive into our first activity for this section. So I'm going to ask you to open up your activity guide to page 1, and we'll be working through the lifecycle management setup and the extensions activity. Page 1 will be required for anyone that does not yet have atoms and environment set up. I would imagine though that most people watching the video already have the environment set up, so you can begin on page 2. And I'd really encourage you to work through the activity on your own, and when you're done, jump back into the video here so that we can review it together. Okay, so we're going to jump straight into the platform and into our exercise here. Like I mentioned, if you needed to, you had to first set up your atoms and environments, and that was on page 1. I'm assuming most people already have that set up, and so we're going to begin right into the activity. So first thing we want to do is add some folders to get organized. Create an ARC2 folder, click Save. That was in the root of Boomi training. And from here, inside of ARC2, we want to create one for section 1, life cycle management. Click Save. And lastly, in there, I'm going to create one more new one for extensions activity and click Save. So the next thing we want to do is browse the process library. And you'll recall the Boomi process library lets you browse, view, and install published processes into your account. And we're going to do just that. So the one that we're installing is Dev Lifecycle 2 Activity 1. It's actually here at the very top for me already. Yours might come up in a different order. So to be able to search on it, type in ARC2 with no space there, and it will filter it just for the activities that are associated with the ARC2 class. So we're going to install Dev Lifecycle 2 Activity 1 and click Install. And it's going to ask for the location, and so let's navigate to the extensions activity that we just created and click Install. And once that's finished, let's open it and click View Process. Now, as you've been working through the different classes, and this is also a note on page 3 and step 9, as a best practice, we encourage all users to keep a connections folder separate so that their connections can easily be reused in other processes. And so we want to be able to do that here and find our Salesforce connector. So we want to click and drag our connection and drop it into the connections folder. Okay, so next let's review our extensions activity. And you'll notice that there is a initial call to Salesforce that pulls in some records. There is a map that's going to take that XML profile from the Salesforce request and map it to a flat file. Next, the data process shape will combine all the documents that are returned. And we're going to create an FTP name. Now this FTP name is a dynamic document property, and this is a process property that we're going to extend. So you can see there's a static value of extended name, and the value of file name will be inserted there and then appended with .txt, and click OK. And then finally the log shape will simply show us the name of the FTP file being written. So let's click on extensions now. And here you will see that all 4 of the connection properties for the Salesforce connection are extensible. So let's go ahead and click them. Next, we'll click over to process properties. In here, you will find the file name extensible property. We'll check that and click OK, and then save. Our next step is to deploy the process, and we can do that quickly by clicking on View Deployment. And you will see that it is not deployed at all yet. So we'll click the checkbox next to it here, and we'll go ahead and deploy it to our dev environment. So click Save and Deploy in the bottom right-hand corner. Add a message there for first deployment and click OK. Now let's jump over to Manage and add a management. We'll select the environment that we deployed to. So in our case, it was the dev. And here you will see that there's a link for environment extensions. Here you'll see that the Boomi training properties were extensible. We'll just leave them as the default, but you'll see that they are available here. And for process property, you'll see that the file name field is extensible, and we will here change the value to dev and click OK. So that was saved. And just to take a look at that, what we can do is go to Manage and then Process Reporting and click on Execute a Process. We'll select the atom that we deployed to and select our process and click Execute and refresh the page here. Then if we click on the View Process Logs, we can see that our log has been written here, the level of warning, and this is the message that we created. And the extended name now has dev as the value rather than default. And that is the end of the exercise for enabling extensions in your process and environments.